You never really notice how loud silence can be until you're standing alone in a grocery store at 2:30 in the morning. The hum of the freezers, the distant click of a light flickering somewhere down an empty aisle. It all becomes this eerie rhythm that keeps you awake, but uneasy. I used to work night shift at a small grocery store off the highway. It wasn't a big chain, just one of those family-owned places that never really updated their equipment. The aisles were narrow, the lights buzzed, and the cameras, the old grainy black and white kind, sat on a dusty monitor behind the register. My shift usually ran from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. I'd restock shelves, clean up messes, and handle the occasional late-night customer. Most nights, it was just me and the security guard, Fareed. He was quiet, older, probably in his 50s, and spent most of his time sitting in the back room watching the cameras while sipping black coffee. The first time I felt something was off was during my second week there. I was stacking cereal boxes in aisle 3 when I heard a shopping cart roll past behind me. It was such a normal sound that I didn't even look up until I realized there wasn't supposed to be anyone else in the store. When I turned around, the aisle behind me was empty. No cart, no footsteps, just that soft electric hum that fills your ears when everything's too quiet. I laughed it off and went back to work, but that sound stayed in my head. Later that night, I went to the counter to check in with Fareed. He was watching the CCTV screens like always, 6 small boxes showing different parts of the store. He said, "You are moving fast tonight, huh?" I frowned. "What do you mean?" He pointed to the top left screen. It showed aisle 4. There I was, or at least someone who looked like me, pushing a cart down the aisle, back and forth. Except I was standing right there beside him. When I looked again, the figure on the screen was gone. I asked Fareed to rewind it, but the tape only showed static. He just shrugged and said, "These old things glitch all the time." But the thing was, it didn't feel like a glitch. The next few nights, small things started happening. Boxes fell from shelves. The freezer doors swung open by themselves. Once I heard a woman humming near the produce section, soft, broken, like someone singing through static. But when I went to look, the aisle was empty and the air was freezing cold. Then came the night I'll never forget. It was a Thursday. I remember because the delivery truck had just left and I was restocking snacks near the back. The store was completely silent. No customers, no radio, just that constant low buzz of the lights. Fareed was up front watching the cameras. I could hear the faint crackle of the monitor from where I was. Then I heard him shout, "Hey, if you're still here with us, a simple like on this video would mean the world. It truly helps us keep going." I walked to the front and he pointed at the monitor. His hand was shaking. On the screen, aisle 5 showed a man standing perfectly still. Tall, hoodie pulled low over his face, just standing there, not moving. I grabbed my flashlight and went straight to aisle 5. Nothing, just stacked boxes and an old mop bucket. When I went back to the monitor, the man was gone, but now the screen showed me walking down aisle 5, except I was still standing right there next to Fareed. I stared, frozen, as the version of me on the monitor turned toward the camera, slowly. His face wasn't mine, not really. It was stretched, wrong, like someone had tried to draw me from memory and got every detail slightly off. Then the feed flickered and the camera cut out completely. Fareed cursed under his breath and smacked the monitor, trying to get it working again. The lights in the store started to flicker in sync with the static on the screen. For a moment, I thought I saw movement in the reflection of the front glass door, shapes, like someone walking outside, except there was no one there. Farid decided to check the fuse box. He told me to wait at the counter. Minutes passed, then 10, then 20. I started hearing a soft tapping, slow, deliberate, like fingertips brushing the glass of the freezer doors one by one. The sound moved closer, aisle by aisle, until it stopped right behind the counter where I was standing. I turned around. Nothing. The lights flickered again. The CCTV monitor glitched back to life, showing all 6 camera feeds, but they weren't live. They were delayed, maybe a few seconds behind. I watched myself staring at the screen, a perfect copy of my every move. Then, in one of the screens, the one showing the loading bay, I saw Farid standing there, but his head was tilted in a way that wasn't natural, and someone was standing right behind him, whispering into his ear. The feed went black. At that moment, the power died. The store fell into complete silence and darkness. The air felt heavy, suffocating. I couldn't hear anything except my heartbeat and the faint ringing in my ears. Then, from somewhere in the aisles, a voice, calm, flat, almost mechanical, said, "Just a moment. The shift is almost over." My flashlight wouldn't turn on. I ran blindly toward the back exit, crashing into carts and boxes until my hand found the door handle. It wouldn't move. That voice came again, closer this time, behind me. Just a moment. I slammed my shoulder against the door until it finally gave way, and I stumbled out into the cold night air. The parking lot was empty. No Farid, no delivery truck, no other car, just my car, except when I reached it, there was a layer of fine dust coating the hood, like it had been sitting there for months. When I looked back, the lights inside the store were flickering erratically. Then, one by one, they shut off, until only the old neon 24-hour sign was still glowing. And then that too went dark. I drove until dawn, hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles hurt. When I told the manager the next day, she looked confused. She said there were no shifts scheduled that night. The security guard, Farid, she'd never hired anyone by that name. I went back once more, just to prove to myself it was all in my head, but the store was different. The walls were repainted, new cameras installed, and the old monitor behind the counter was gone. Still, sometimes, when I pass by late at night, I swear I see the faint flicker of that same neon sign reflected in my rear-view mirror. And if I glance too long, for just a second, I see myself standing behind the counter, watching.